Phenom pitcher Stephen Strasburg with a significant tear in his ulnar collateral ligament. That means Tommy John surgery is likely for the national stud. Pete McCarthy and Jim Duquette breaking this down. If Tommy John surgery is necessary for Strasburg, what does that mean for his future?
Well, obviously it's terrible news. It's a very good possibility that he's going to need Tommy John surgery. This is a tear, a significant tear, which means it was more than 50%. So they're saying that he's going to get a second opinion, but most likely he's going to need this surgery. The good news, the silver lining in this, is that his teammate Jordan Zimmermann, who got surgery last year, August 19th of last season, just got to start his first start of the season last night and pitched at a very high level. So really, when you look at it, and Dr. Yoakum, who did the surgery for Zimmermann, most likely will do the surgery for Stephen Strasburg. So his return is maybe not even as early as next year, towards the end of August into September. The likelihood is you're going to look at him more in 2012, but there's a chance in 2011 that he would get a couple of starts at least.
It's kind of the norm in baseball at this point. If you're a power pitcher, Tommy John surgery will be necessary, and so many guys come back as good, some even better than they were before that surgery. But let's look at this from the Nationals' perspective as well. They really handled Strasburg with kid gloves. At times they were criticized for being so careful with him. Could they have done anything else to prevent this from happening?
You know, it's a fair question to look at, and I know Mike Rizzo, the GM, is really, it's something you look at in hindsight, but I don't think there's any second guessing here. And I was very complimentary and supportive of the way they've handled him from the very beginning. This is a young pitcher who we know has not built up his innings, hasn't built up his pitch count, so it was smart for them to be cautious and conservative along the way, but also get his opportunity to pitch against major league hitters and get on-the-job training and development. So from that standpoint, while there are some critics out there that say, well, maybe you shouldn't have used him this much, or maybe you should have extended him more, I think the Nationals did exactly what most other organizations would have done.
We see throughout Major League history power pitchers getting hurt. This year you want to look at Joel Zumaya. You go back to Herb Score and Mark Fidrich, and that's the kind of class that Strasburg appeared to be in. Is it just impossible for these power pitchers biologically to handle the stresses that go in their arm when you throw that hard?
You know, there's other names too, as you mentioned. Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood are also names that you hear mentioned in Stephen Strasburg. The guys who throw hard, the high velocity, mid-90s, almost 100-mile-an-hour type guys, they're more prone to having this type of injury, either Tommy John or some type of rotator cuff injury. But it also comes down to good mechanics. It also comes down to genetics. There are a lot of different factors. So while they're more likely to have it, it's not a definitive answer that every guy who throws in the high 90s is going to have surgery. A guy like Strasburg, the good news again is, like you said, there's a lot of, I'd say 90% of the guys who have Tommy John come back to where they were originally, so that's the good news as well. And I think that when you see Strasburg come back, again, he'll get back to that mid to high 90s fastball that he had prior to the surgery.